Hey, how's it going, everybody? So today I want to talk to you about the three kinds of law students who can make it very hard for you to do well on the curve. In other words, because many law schools have a curve, even if you may have done technically well getting a high B or A, because professors have to put you onto a curve, it may shift your grade down if you're competing against these kinds of people. So it can be a little frustrating in the curve process to be up against these kinds of people, but there are ways to work around that and to better yourself. So let's get into who these three types of law students are. So the first kind of law student that can make it very difficult for you on the curve is the law student who was a former legal secretary or paralegal. And the reason why they are going to make it very hard for you is because they usually were used to typing really fast and already have some familiarity with legal writing to some degree. They may have been, writing little memos or notes or doing some analysis for other attorneys. So when it comes to being, a student in law school, their fingers are already going to be pretty quick at writing for the exams. And that can be a huge advantage because if they're able to write 80, 90, 100 plus words per minute with very little errors, they are able to put out a lot more content and do editing and revision much faster than other students who maybe don't write as fast. So they are definitely ones to watch out for on the curve and to just recognize that, no matter what, even if you can't write as fast, don't be too hard on yourself. They're just going to be able to get more details in, get their editing done sooner and better potentially because they're just so used to being able to write fast when they were legal secretaries or paralegals. So the second type of law student to watch out for is the generational lawyer. So this is the student who had a dad or a mom or uncle or grandma, grandpa, someone who was in law in their family, and because of that, they have some insider experience and knowledge about how it works. They might have some support or some thoughts from that parent or uncle or grandparent. They've been doing this or been involved in this in some capacity for years just because, their family was into it. And those students typically do have an advantage of the curve because they have some insider advice about how to tackle the law school exams and what to expect. And they might already have some familiarity with how to think through things or how to analyze different legal issues. So again, they can be very frustrating for the curve, but people that might want to talk to and, go back and forth with, especially when you're in your study groups. The third type of law student that could really hurt the curve is the law student who's in your class that definitely is well above the average profile. So this pretty much applies for most law students, most people who are in a law school. By and large, there's going to be some student or a couple students there who definitely are way above or a step above in pedigree in terms of their academic history and experience. These are people who maybe had a really high GPA and high LSAT score. Maybe they already had a master's degree. These are people who have been in the academic process for a while and were already really successful. And maybe they're at your school just because they got a financial aid package. They're going to school for free or for low cost. Maybe they're there because it's just convenient instead of going to a top end school like Harvard or Yale or something like that. They're at your school because they want to just be close to home. Maybe they want to practice in the state that you're in, so that's why they're not at some very high-end law school. But whatever it is, they're there, they're on the curve, and you're competing with them. And that can be really frustrating too, because again, when you're on a curve and you're competing with someone who has a much larger background or higher pedigree background, it can be very daunting to compete with that person, especially if they otherwise would have gained acceptance to the top of the top law school, whether it was like Yale or Harvard. It can be pretty daunting. So again, this is something that can be scary, but it should be something that you can think about and just kind of work toward and understanding what you need to do to catch up for the curve in terms of studying, in terms of practicing typing, in terms of maybe study groups and looking for certain people to study with, some people who maybe have some insights that you don't have because their family, came from a family of lawyers, or the other person, has some type of experience. And again, if you're someone who's coming to law school and you didn't come from that background, you weren't a legal secretary, paralegal, you're not necessarily like the top end of scorers, you don't have like a 3.9 GPA and a 175 LSAT or something like that. I mean, this is an opportunity for you to think about what you have to do to compete in the curve and maybe who to reach out to and look for a study group in terms of thinking about what you can do to help yourself and to help study better, and also to practice for the law school exams with practicing your typing speed and practicing your editing and revision process so that you can move up and compete with some of these other people who are going to be in your class. And if you want some study tips to help you do this, again, check out my past videos below. There's links below to videos where I explain some tips and tricks about how to improve your scores on your final exams, and that way you can help boost yourself up in the curve, get past that halfway middle mark, and make yourself stand out a little bit more. All right, I hope that helps everyone, and I'll talk to y'all later.